Good afternoon, I'm Raheem Rashid here at Greenford High School, and tonight we are with 4 candidates from the Green Party, the Labour Party, the Liberal Democrats and the Conservatives. Each of these 4 candidates here has a different vision for the future of our country and our local area, and in the next hour they'll be debating head-to-head about their policies for our local area. Tonight we are represented by Meena Hans from the Green Party. We have Kevin McNamara from the Lib Dems, we have Steve Pound, who's the current MP representing Labour, and we have Thomas O'Malley from the Conservatives. So we'll start with the education policy. The question is, how will you combat the continuous change in our education system? And let's go to Steve Pound.
Right. I think that, can teachers just cover their ears for a moment? I think teachers actually need a bit of a break. When I think of what's happened to education over the last 5 years, every flipping day, another initiative. Every single day, more requirements, more training. My daughter is a high school teacher just down the road, and she brings back a rucksack full of marking every day and a rucksack full of policy papers and changes. First thing we want to do is to actually get off the teachers' backs, let them get on with teaching, which is what they do best. The other thing we'll do is we want to get rid of the appalling, ghastly, divisive, money-wasting nonsense that is the free school policy. We also want to let pupils know that we value and respect them sufficiently to cut the tuition fee from £9,000 to £6,000.
Steve Pound, you said that you're for the current Labour policy to reduce them down to £6,000, but I have your voting record here, and in 2010 you voted against raising the undergraduate fee to £9,000, which is what it currently is now.
Right.
But in 2010 you also voted against raising tuition fees to £6,000 a year as well. So what's changed in the last 5 years when you voted against £6,000 and now you're all for it?
Well, I wasn't, when I voted against the £10,000, the £9,000, that was absolutely straightforward. Yeah, I voted against that because at that particular time, that was £6,000 and a rising scale. It wasn't a £6,000 for all time. Don't forget, when Labour brought in the £3,000, we said that was it, we put a cap on it. We said it's £3,000 and no more. It was capped, it was topped, it was finished, that was it. The proposal on the 6,000 was not capped, and it was actually open-ended.
I think we've built a better and stronger education system in that time. I think for you guys now, looking forward to your future, I think there is a bright future. I think that there are university places, there's a greater range of further education options, there are apprenticeships, all of which, some of which were started under the Labour Party, but all of which have been built on and strengthened in the past 5 years.
I just wanted to come back on the comment made about how would we finance universities. Well, there's one thing that we would do is cut down on tax evasion for a start. There's a lot of money that's implicit.
Do you have any figures how much that would raise?
I have got them somewhere. It's something like £100 billion, some ridiculous figure which would sort out all the problems, the NHS, university fees.
So the question is, how will you ensure the United Kingdom is protected from foreign threats, and what's your main party's aims in regards to foreign policy? So we'll start with the Liberal Democrat Party.
Peace building, not endless interventionism. We can't afford it. It won't make the world a safer place. It hasn't so far. We see in places like Iraq and Afghanistan the way we've destabilised those regions. All it's doing is, we haven't built democracy over there, we haven't built peace over there. We're putting strain on them, and the refugees are putting strain on us, which I'm happy to welcome them over, but it's not creating a stable world.
There's less than 100,000 people in the army. This is ridiculous. Sadly, and I think it's a matter of record, I resigned from the last government rather than vote for the renewal of Trident. I thought it was an absurd thing to do, a ludicrous thing to do. Simple question, who are we defending ourselves from? Modern warfare is not massed ranks of people in uniform marching across Lunenburg Heath in lockstep. It's not great Russian tank divisions sweeping through Poland. Those days are long, long gone. Modern warfare is asymmetric, localized, and civilianized. Lots more to say. So keep a strong army, keep strong overseas development aid, try to address the problem, but keep our borders secure, not with ludicrous Cold War technology missiles, but with the men and women of our modern armed forces who happen to be rather good at it.
Thank you. In regards to foreign policy, now we go to a question from Osob in the audience.
So how will you combat the rise of ISIS and stop people from our area becoming radicalised? And also, what are your thoughts on the Gaza-Israel conflict?
Anyone like to go first on that? Anyone who wants to go first.
I'm happy to go to two questions. I think the disproportionality of the situation in Gaza is an absolute crying shame, and it's a sore and it is a horrific reality that the world needs to confront. I think it is something which is absolutely indefensible. And I'm sorry, Gaza has been described as the biggest open-air prison on earth. I find it very difficult to disagree that. I understand that the right of the State of Israel to protect itself is sacrosanct. However, you do not protect yourself by imprisoning half a nation behind barriers and not even allowing them out. You don't do that. What you don't do is radicalise people by showering missiles and bombs. What you don't do is putting a steel wall around Gaza, which is what's happened. I have very strongly, I don't think, in all honesty, we should be trading any arms, weapons, or any form of material with the State of Israel at the present time, until A, they stop building illegally on the West Bank, and B, they actually obey the overwhelming number of United Nations resolutions, 18 to date, according to the... Oh, I'll tell you about I still after.
Thomas O'Malley, what was the government's policy in regards to the Gaza war last year? What did the government do to help the people of Gaza?
I don't know. I know that the government's policy is to favour a two-state solution, but I don't know specifically what we did in Gaza last year.
Kevin McNamara.
Well, because the Conservatives, we didn't recognise Palestine as a state. That is Liberal Democrat policy to do so. We think forcing Israel's hand on this matter would actually speed along the peace process.
Okay, thank you very much. Steve Pound, I have your record here in votes. In 2010, you voted for the continued deployment of UK forces in Afghanistan. 2011, you voted for the establishment of a no-fly zone in Libya. In 2014, you voted for Iraq, for airstrikes over Iraq against ISIL, and I interviewed you a couple of months ago.
Against.
Are you sure?
Damn right.
For the airstrikes in Iraq.
No.
You voted against that?
Absolutely.
You told me.
And we voted against the Syrian intervention.
Well, I interviewed a couple of months ago, and I'm pretty sure you said that you did vote for them. But okay. This is GHS News, our top story this fortnight. British troops are back on the ground in Iraq after they left just 3 years ago. A couple of weeks ago, I also spoke to Steve Pound MP for Labour, who supported the airstrikes over Iraq. Crisis. On Friday there was a vote.
Yeah. I voted for strictly limited British engagement on that. I mean, this is United Nations sanctioned. This is actually approved by the country, Iraq. And frankly, what's happening in northern Iraq is so unconscionably awful and so horrific. I don't need to go through the details of it. That the option of doing nothing simply isn't a realistic option.
This is not something we've ever seen in this country before. We have to address it, but not really fooling ourselves that there's a table somewhere in Mosul with people sitting around it with water and maybe some chai where we can sit and chat.
All right.
It doesn't work like that.
All right. So wait, can I just confirm? So you voted against airstrikes against the Islamic State?
I voted against airstrikes again because we never had a vote in the House of Commons on it.
The vote last year in the summer.
There never has been a vote in this. There was a vote against military intervention in Syria. The Conservatives voted for it, the Liberal Democrats voted for it, Labour voted against.
The year after that, against the Islamic State in Iraq, last year in the summer there was a vote for...
No, it's not within the locus of the British Parliament.
Well, they used jets against ISIL in Iraq,
Yes.
not in Syria. I don't know whether there was a vote on that, but I know jets.
No, there certainly wasn't. I mean, that was the Iraqi government who themselves had asked for that. They didn't come to us and ask for our permission.
Let's move on to another audience question. Now let's go to Anaine Nadeem.
Hi. My question is starting off with Stephen Pound and moving on to the rest of the panel. We've had a few clips about your voting record today, so I just want you to clarify this for me. So you voted for some rights for LGBTs, but you voted against the Equal Marriage Bill.
Yeah.
Right, so for Stephen Pound, what was your reasoning behind this? And for the rest of the panel, what do you think is the future of LGBTs in the UK?
I voted for the equalisation of the age of consent. I voted to stop penalising and punishing gay, lesbian, transgender and bisexual people in the armed forces. I voted for gay adoptions. I voted for civil partnerships. I voted for all those with an open heart and an open mind, and although I have to say I got some pretty rough comments from a number of constituents. I was happy because it was a matter of equality and fairness, and it was right, and I did so. And on all those issues, including the most contentious, the equalisation of the age of consent, even when I was actually getting attacked in the street for it, I was quite happy to say it. The question of same-sex marriage, I simply am befuddled by it. Marriage, as opposed to a civil partnership, is a theological construct. It is something that happens within a religious environment.
But isn't it the argument of equality? Shouldn't they have the right to marry?
Well, I mean, there's equality in that position. I mean, it's a slightly bizarre argument. It's like saying, I've got the right to be ill, I've got the right to be in the health service. I mean, that equality is an issue that affects people on an individual basis. How can you have equality with someone who is, say, a practicing Muslim family want to get married in a mosque? You cannot say that an LGBT couple will have equality with that family if they're not Muslim. They can't be, by definition. So are you saying that people who are not Muslim have the right to go into a mosque and say, marry us?
Okay, Kevin McNamara.
It doesn't work.
Steve, if anything, you've just made a really sophisticated argument to abolish marriage rather than anything else.
Don't tell my truth.
Because Stephen knows been the MP for the past 18 years. There's actually a small liberal Jewish synagogue in Cleveland.
No, I visited.
And yeah, I'm sure Janet would be interested to hear that.
Janet Burton.
Yeah, I think she'd be interested to hear why you think that in her synagogue she should be able to marry whoever she wants because you're afraid of offending Muslim people.
Well, it's not
I think that's basically your argument. And actually, I mean, I'm a gay man myself, and I think Steve wants to pat himself on the back for voting for perfectly decent things. But when it comes to the very biggest vote, he buckled because he buckled to pressure from his constituents.
Does anyone have any comments in regards to that question there? Yeah.
Well, don't you believe that because of secularisation that people don't have to get married in a religious institute?
Exactly. I entirely agree.
So then why can't they get married?
They can, civil partnership.
But it's not marriage. It's the same as marriage, though.
But
Thomas, let's let Thomas Emmanuel come for a second.
Steve said he was befuddled by the issue at the time of the vote, and I confess that I was as well. I'm a Roman Catholic, and I was worried about churches being forced to do things they didn't want to do, or other religious institutions. But actually, now that we've seen it go through, I realise that I was wrong. And actually, I think it is a welcome move. I think you're right. There is a distinction to be made between secular and religious. But I don't think marriage has to be a religious thing. I don't think it's the role of the state to make one group of people seem second class because of who they love in that way.
All right. So, Steve, would you support then a state provision of marriage then for gay people or LGBT?
I'm not with you.
So, if the state provided, rather than religious organisations providing,
The state provided churches.
No, the state allowing marriage.
Absolutely. That's what you can do at Ealing Town Hall. You can do anywhere. It's called civil partnership. What's the difference? What is the difference?
Well, no, but also
Just check the GHS election. Ossob has asked, ask Steve Pound if he would switch his marriage to a civil partnership right now. Would you do that?
Why?
Because you said it's, well, the same thing according to you.
Why would I do it?
Because, well, you said the same thing, arguably, you said.
I just don't I really don't understand the point. Because I got married in 1976.
But right now, would you switch to a civil partnership?
I have to ask the wife.
Okay. If we could go to a question now from Tijaz Latani. He is the youth lab of Ealing. Tijaz.
As an advocate for young people, I want to know what your policies are on youth involvement in politics, and the second part of the question is, are you for or against votes at 16 and why?
Steve Pound.
God, you're going to love me, aren't you, for this one? I'm not in favour of votes at 16, I'm sorry. The easy answer is to give you a sort of rah-rah, yeah, let's go for it. But I'm not going to patronise you. I'm not in favour of that because it's quite simple. Votes at 16, why not 15? Why not 14? Why not 30? Where do you stop? There's got to be a point somewhere, and I think you've got enough on your plates when you're 16.
Steve has said that he doesn't see why, just because you will be able to get married, etc., blah, blah, at 16, why you should have the vote. But I say that's the whole reason you should have it, because you are considered to be an adult at 16. You can leave school, You can live on your own, you can get a job, you can do all sorts of things at 16. So why shouldn't you decide and have a say in deciding your future? So we are absolutely for it.
Steve Pan, you've been an MP now for 18 years.
Don't sound so sad about it.
If you get elected in this election, that would take you up to 23 years. At what point would you resign? Or what point would you not run for election? Or would you just carry on? Or would you just carry on running for election?
I don't believe in going on and on forever. I mean, whatever I say, they get a little close. Ealing North has only had 3 MPs since 1964. A cursory glance at my birth certificate, which shows that myself and the National Health Service were born in the same week, in the same place, in the same year, at the same time, should give you the clue that there is virtually no chance of me having another crack if I get returned on May the 7th. But don't hold me to that.
That's the end of this debate. Does anyone have a dire comment they'd like to make? Oh, sorry.
For Steve Pan.
No, just a comment.
Okay, so do what?
We've run out of time. So thank you very much, everyone.
Basil said that you should register. More important, once you're registered, vote. Doesn't matter who you vote for any one of us.
All right, guys, thanks a lot for coming to the debate. I hope you enjoyed it.